Okay, what I want to do here is I want to add content to these two sidebars over here on the left, the red and blue area. And what I'm going to do here is I want to add a picture in this red area here, and I need to know the size of this. So back in Dreamweaver, this is the section called Sub 1. And so what I want to do here is I'm going to go to the Style section. I can see the width is 220 by 290. So what I want to do is I'm going to create an image in Photoshop that matches that exact size. So what I want to do is you can bring in any image that you want to work with, and you just have to manipulate using some of the tools. I'm going to use the crop tool here to ensure that it's the exact size I'm wanting, instead of going up the image size. And what I'm going to do is my option bar, I'm going to change the ratio option to the width, height, and resolution option. And I want to type in 220 by 290. Now, if your image is taken from a camera, you might want to type in the resolution here as well, where it be set to 72 pixels. My image is already set to 72, so I don't have to worry about that. Now, this is exact proportion, so I'm going to press my Enter key to accept. It might look a little smaller, but it actually is not that small. It is 220 by 290. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to save this. Make sure you save it in the folder that we created for our site folder. So I created a site folder called Class Practices, and I'm going to the images. So make sure it's going to the right folder, not somewhere else. So I'm going to click on Save. I'm going to replace what I have there. I'm going to give it a name as Golfer. Now, once it has been saved and so forth, what I want to do, actually before I make a change, I'm going to flip this around. So I'm just going to go up to Edit. Let's see here. Don't want to, yeah. Actually, let me make this into a layer first. And we'll go Edit, Free Transform. Transform. I'm going to choose Flip Horizontal so it goes the opposite way. It's going to make it easier. So I have the golfer pointing toward my content. I don't want it going pointing to the left because it's looking at the edge of the web page. I want it to point to my content so it draws my eyes to that area. So now I'm just going to resave this real quick. Make sure I save as a JPEG because I created a layer. It's asking me to do a PSD. Replace. Now, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to make sure my insertion point's in here in the sub between the two div tags. When I click up here, I am going to go up to Insert Image, choose Image. Now the image has been added to the, make sure you're taking it from the class Site folder, Images. Here's the golfer. Now automatically puts in the information. I'm going to have to put an alternate text. And here it fits nicely within that section. Now, because you don't know what images you might add in later, you just have to make sure the right size. Now notice the red disappears. The red's still there in the background, so if you happen to move the image, delete it, or the image is smaller, that red would show. So you can go in your style sheet and change that background to none, or keep it there so you know that is the section if you do move your images around. So now let's add something down here to the bottom section. And one way we can do it, we can do graphics, we can add text. So that depends on what you want to do and what you want to add to it. I'm going to add a little text that encourages people to join us for the league. And what I want to do is I want to change that blue background here to a different, more of a darker green. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my style sheet. I'm going to come over here and click on Sub 2. I'm going to come down to where the background color is. And I'm just going to go in and use a darker green that fits my color scheme. Oops. It added it to the code over here. So I'm just going to go in and repaste it. I gotta make sure I have the pound sign in. This is color scheme I set up beforehand. Now when I look at it, should be a darker green. Now the problem with the green there, if you use a darker text, it's going to be harder to read. So I'm going to use eventually a white color that is going to be applied to this. So while I'm here, I'm just going to go up here to the top to color for text, and I'm going to choose white. So that means anything in that section will go white. Now you won't see anything yet because we haven't added anything in here yet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come into my div tags here. You can also come up and work with the live view as well. And I'm just going to put in a p tag, join now /p tag. As you can see here, it goes in and puts it at the top left hand corner. We can go in and do some manipulation with this to change that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to apply a style to this paragraph in sub 2 to make it a little bit larger. So I'm going to click on my external style sheet. I'm going to click on the plus sign. Now we're going to have it so it says pound sub 2 p space p. So that only affects the paragraph in that subsection. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the font size. Well, 20, let's go 35 really. Yeah, there we go. Now, what's happening here, you can see something going on with the layout, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I want to format my text so it goes in and adjusts it. So I'm going to go and center line this, and I'm going to click on the text align option that centers it. Now the problem we're having here is that when you work with a paragraph tag, excuse me, it's a block element. So it adds space above and below your text in that. So what's happening here, it adds some extra space above it, and so it's forcing your section down. To move that paragraph up, we have to basically remove the paragraph spacing that's added inherently. So to do that, we're just going to go to the margin, and I'm going to change the 0 here. So I'm going to be actually working with 0 pixels at the top. Now when I do that, notice it's basically removing that inherent space that's at the top, and notice how my box moves up and fits nicely. So that's something to watch out for, is when you start adding block elements, and we saw this in previous videos, if you add like an H1, it adds space above and below your paragraph or H1 tags. It also adds it below and above your paragraphs. It adds it below and above your list. So here we're going to remove the margin down to 0. Now a lot of people will do the same thing for the bottom, and I'm going to put 0 here as well. So that way it doesn't cause any other issues with that. But to move the text down some, I'm just going to use the padding at the top, and that's going to force the text down when you start working with padding. So in this case, I'm going to go about 25 pixels. And then, as you see here, see how it moves it down in the almost in the middle with that aspect. So key here is when you start adding text to a section, and you start working with paragraph tags, or you work with heading tags, it's a block element. So sometimes when you're working with a layout and you want to fit it exactly, it's going to cause an issue because there's inherent space added to the top and bottom. So what we do is we just go right into the margin and change that to 0 at the top and the bottom 0. So now what we have here is we have a little graphic at the top. And let's take a look at what it looks like in our document in our browser. So here it has a little graphic, has a little text. This graphic is going to help draw visual attention to the text here as well as down here at the bottom. Now if you look at certain things and you don't like the color choices, this is time to make a change. Go into your style sheet, modify it a little bit, and adjust it. So in our next video, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the content in the information we have over here in the 2 columns.